morning to all members. Okay, today we are here to discuss about a very important point in education. So what is the point? Okay, today we will discuss about the banking concept in education. So what is banking concept? Banking concept is the contents, whether values or empirical dimensions of reality, then in the process of being narrated to become lifeless and petrified. Okay, so without further delay, I want to introduce to you guys the panel that with us today. So first of all, we have Miss Oi Wei Ling, a teacher from SMK Jalan Tasik, Ipoh, Perak.
Hello, Miss Shafika.
Okay, hi Miss Wei Ling. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
Okay, so our second panel is Madam Sabrina, lecturer in Training Institute.
Hi, Ms. Shafika. It's a pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Madam Sabrina. Okay, our third panel is Dr. Rose, from a lecturer from UNITA.
Ms. Shafika, thank you for inviting me to this today interesting forum. Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have Madam Hayati from State Department Head.
Hi, Miss Shafika.
Welcome to Madam Hayati. So the last panel we have here is Madam Aisha, who is a Curriculum Division Officer.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha. Thank you for letting me in.
Welcome to you guys. Okay, so I want to ask to Madam to Miss Owei Ling. So as a teacher at SMK Jalan Tasik, Ipoh, Perak, do you think that the banking concept is still relevant in today's curriculum? Is it aligned with or fulfill the national philosophies of education?
All right. Thank you for bringing up this topic, Ms. Shafika. For me, I think that the banking concept is still relevant in a certain way. There are some situations that requires the application of the banking concept, such as in moral education, traditional values, respecting school rules and regulations, and follow instructions during an emergency situation, and for safety precautions. These are the knowledges that should be transferred to students without any changes and cannot be learned via trial and error approaches. But to say that this concept is aligned with our national philosophies of education, I would disagree with that. Because based on what has stated in the national philosophies of education, I don't think that by merely following the banking concept in our teaching method can create a student which fulfill the national philosophies of education, such as producing a high competent student who are intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically balanced, and to discover the potential of student in a holistic and integrated manner. Because you see, the banking concept does not allow the students to voice out their ideas and thoughts in the classroom. The teachers hold the power to speak and are basically spoon-feeding the students with all the knowledge they have without having the students engaging in the classroom. Thus, the students became the passive learners and no critical thinking skills can be developed as they have no opportunities to participate in an active discussion or debate among themselves. What students will prioritize is to only memorizing notes to pass the test. This results in students who does not have true skills, such as cognitive skills, communication skills, leadership skills, and teamwork, which is what the national philosophies of education actually wants. In order to have these skills, teachers should practice using hot question, higher order thinking skills to stimulate the students to think critically and enhance their creativity. Besides, having practical class or hands-on activities allows students to experience or to put what they had learned, what they studied into life. They need to explore and experience things themselves. so that this can make a better impression on students and they become truly understand how things work. And from there, they may come up with a better, even better, something better than what they had learned in class. Yeah, so that is how I thought. Thank you, Ms. Shafika.
Okay, Miss Wei, based on what you had explained just now, will you still encourage the application of the banking concept in your classroom? If yes, why? And if not, why?
Okay, thank you, moderator, again for the question. In my opinion, it really depends on what kind of class situation we are in. If I am teaching a science subject that requires the exploration of new knowledges, then of course, by just following the banking concept, it is not going to spark any students' interest and curiosity towards what they are learning or listening in class, because only the teacher holds the authority to speak, and they will be just spitting facts, giving all the knowledge they have, while the students are just going to sit there and listen, taking down notes, memorize, and then pour everything out in the exam paper. There will be no discussion, no question on why, what, and how. They can memorize the formulas or theories, but they don't understand why is it put it in that way. So the students to only follow the rules and solve the question based on the formula they had learned without actually knowing the meaning behind it. In this situation, the teacher should have thrown the question back on students and ask them, why is it like that? Or in another situation, let's say it's a situation-based problem-solving question. Instead of just directly give a supposed answer, ask the student what is their opinion and is there any other way to solve the problem. However, I would apply the banking concept in situation, for instance, a noisy and poorly behaved class, whereby teachers should have the power to control the class. The students should be respectful by paying attention in class, not talking or chit-chatting with their classmate at the back. Apart from that, younger students, such as those in preschool and primary school, may not have the ability to fully understand yet. So the teacher can share the basic knowledges to the students directly. This basically relates back to the essentialism, whereby the teachers are teaching basic skills and training their minds. The teachers are guiding the students strictly so that the student become disciplined. Yeah, so that is how I would apply the banking concept in this situation. Thank you so much, Miss, for the question.
Okay, thank you, Miss Wei, for your opinion just now. Madam Sabrina, the exact question as Miss Wei. So, being a lecturer who trains teachers for today's education system, do you still think that the banking concept is relevant?
Yes, Ms. Shafika. Actually, first, I would like to thank Ms. Wailing for the wonderful explanation that she gave on the banking concept and how it is applicable and what kind of and how it she applies in her school system and all those things, which is very apt and very it was very elaborate and it was very well explained. Thank you, Ms. Wailing. So, coming back to your question, Ms. Shafika. Yes, it is relevant in today's world and in today's education because, as you say, education comes in three stages for children of today, which is primary, secondary, and tertiary. And basically, if you see, in our institute, we kind of train teachers for all these three stages. So we have to train them in different ways because children in the primary and secondary and tertiary have different wavelength and they think differently and they need different um, concepts and they need different things. For example, in primary, we need the banking concept to make children learn the basic 3 R's, which is reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's not like we can use something else to, yeah, we do use different concept, but the banking concept is something which is mainly used to to inculcate knowledge in these children to start about their learning process. And like Ms. Wailing said, yes, we need to we need to also, the teacher needs to discipline her students, which is very, very important, especially starting in the younger ages. Early education, primary school discipline is very important. What is right and wrong, we have to teach the children what is right and wrong. Like Ms. Wailing was saying, we cannot make them actually go touch fire and tell them that, oh no, you can, and learn from that. We have to tell the children that when you touch fire, it's going to burn your finger. So these kind of concepts and these kind of small things, I think we need to use the banking concept. It is something that we teach the children, and this 100% uses the banking concept. But when it comes to secondary and tertiary education in a child's life, we need to innovate on the pedagogical concepts that we use, because education becomes more interactive and at that part of their stage. Education is very important, and they have a lot of curiosity also at that stage. And in today's world, it's not like 20 years ago when we were studying or our parents were studying. When they need to know something or when they're curious about something, they'll go ask their teacher or they'll go ask their parents what it is and how it is. But today's children, you don't need that. There's an abundance of information in the internet. They can get from social media. They're exposed to all these things. We cannot control this. It does have its pros and cons, but I think that's a topic for another day. So let's come back to this. So they just go straight to the internet. They just Google and they can find out whatever they want to find with internet. So over there, you have to give activities like doing research for the students to actually learn on their own. It's the teacher should be able to spark a little bit of creativity and critical thinking put into them. So they are curious and they go to the internet or they go to the library to search all these things. So the banking concept won't be very applicable or relevant at this stages and this phase of their life, because there's a lot of research involved, and using that kind of methods will actually um, spark them, will make them innovate on things, will make them think critically. So that's what is important for the children of today, because when they go into the real world, that is what will be important for them. They need to adapt quickly. So the adaptability comes from learning in this kind of way. Children are very smart these days, so they don't need us to educate ourselves. You must have heard of so many children who learn so many skills just by watching YouTube videos. They don't need a teacher. They can just watch YouTube videos and they learn a skill. So the banking concept becomes obsolete when it comes to this part, this stage of education in this century. I think when it comes to secondary and tertiary education, the banking concept is very obsolete with those kind of children. So that's when you have to use different kind of methods and stimulate their critical thinking and creativity. So as a lecturer from the Teacher Training Institute, the way we train our teachers is to have a balance of concepts. We have to use the banking concept. We have to use a little bit of realism, idealism, pragmatism, all kinds of these philosophical concepts to actually inspire the children. And the concept that is being used also depends on the type of children, just like Ms. Wailing said. It depends on the subject, it depends on the type of children, and it depends on which stage of education they are in. So I guess teachers need to acclimatize to this kind of changes, and they need to adapt themselves, which was very evident during the pandemic, because most of them, it was like a student who comes into the classroom and they learn. So you give them research or assignments and they go back and they learn from that. But now, because of the pandemic, the whole idea of how we teach has totally changed. And it is very, And it is very actually appreciable because most of the teachers have learned to adapt to that change. So adaptability is what matters here. Like it says in our national philosophy of education, education is an ongoing process. So there's a never is it's never ending. From the moment you're born to when you die, education is ongoing. So you need to learn to adapt to different scenarios, different students, how they are, what they need, and what stage they are or what subject they are. So this is very important. And I hope I gave you a clear explanation for what you asked me. Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
Madam
giving me
Sabrina.
this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you for your wonderful opinion also. Okay, we have here from the lecturer from the training institute. So why not? Now we hear the opinion from our lecturer from the university, Dr. Rose. So, Dr. Rose, what is your opinion as a lecturer in university about this banking concept?
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Shafika, for your question. Actually, I agree with Sabrina's explanation just now. Right. In my opinion, as a lecturer, I believe that the banking concept is relevant in a certain aspect. Yeah, the banking model of education is an approach that sees students as a containers into which knowledge is deposited by teachers or the lecturers. Right. Education becomes an act of depositing in which the students are the depositories and the teacher is the depositor. Instead of communicating, the teacher issues, communicates and make deposit which the students passionately receive, memorize and repeat. Yeah, this is the banking concept of education in which the scope of action allow to the student extend only as far as receiving, filing and storing the deposits. Okay, they do, it is true, have the opportunity to become collectors of the things they store. But in the last analysis, it is the people themselves who are feel away through the lack of creativity, transformation, and knowledge in this misguided system. Yeah, and then it is not surprising that the banking concept of education regards men as adaptable, manageable beings. The more students work at storing the deposit entrusted to them, the less they develop their critical consciousness, which would result from their intervention in the world as transformers of that world. The more completely they accept the passive role imposed on them, the more they tend simply to adapt to the world as it is and to fragmented view of reality deposited in them. Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. So thank you for your opinion, Dr. Rose. So actually, what is the advantage and disadvantage of the banking concept?
All right, okay. There are a few advantage and then disadvantage of this banking approach. The first advantage is some students appreciate structure. If we are to believe that different students have different learning styles, then perhaps so some may in fact prefer learning through transmission. People may prefer to get their information straight and clear without ambiguity. All right, the second one is the second advantage is direct instruction is necessary. There are some instances in which direct instruction or telling students the way it is necessary. The third one is teacher control. Even though most people consider the banking approach to be pedagogically bad practice, many teachers may find it beneficial for helping control poorly behaved classes. In this model, the teacher is the ultimate authority figure and heavily manage her class by preventing crosstalk or dissent. All right, the last advantage is reproduction of values and culture. Traditional and time-tested values that should not be questioned may be taught through this approach, where very clear and unquestionable wisdom is transmitted from teacher to student without room for changing of traditions. And then the disadvantage of the banking approach is the first one is lack of critical thinking. When teacher expects students to accept their word as unquestionable truth, there is no scope for use of cognitive skill to critique of the information presented. Students are denied the opportunity to exercise the critical thinking, knowledge economy jobs. Second is a lack of creativity. When students are denied the opportunity to think for themselves, they will never develop creative thinking and the problem solving skills. Yeah, and then the last one is power imbalance are reproduced. In the banking model, power remains in the hand of the teacher and students are given no chance to question authority. All right, I think that is the advantage and disadvantage of banking mod concept. Yeah, that's all. Passing back to you, Miss Shafika.
So thank you, Dr. Rose, for your speech just now. Okay, so now let us ask for the Madam Hayati. So Madam Hayati, so um as Madam Hayati, so as a State Department head, can I know what is your point of view about the banking concept in education? Can you share a bit about it?
Hi. Hello. Hi. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Shafika, for having me for today. And I'm being honored to be here with all of you in this forum. So, as a state department head, I will always to make sure that our students will have an effective and best quality of education in order to fulfill the inspiration of national education. So, from my understanding, the banking concept of the education is a method of teaching and learning where the students simply store the information relayed to them by the teachers. So, in a banking type of environment, a classroom is structured in a way that the primary duty of student is to remember and accurately recall the information provided by the educators. So they are not asked to participate in any other way and simply absorb the informations. So in this type of approach, the world is seen as a static and unchangeable, and students are simply supposed to fit into this. So this approach can limit students' critical thinking skills and engagement in the learning process. So the prevalence of the banking concept within most educational system prevents students from developing skills that make themselves fair-minded critical thinkers and continues to promote long-standing biases within society. So therefore, for the educators, especially for the teachers and lecturers, and also our curriculum developer to implement this concept in our educations. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hayati. So, what will be the
Thank you,
recommendation?
Ms. Shafika.
So, Madam Hayati, what will be the recommendation to the educator to improve our education system?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shafika. Uh, for the for my point of view as a state department head, I would like to give recommendation to educator, which is student-centered approaches is one of the way we can improve our education system. So such as the contractivities on inquiry-based models. So these approaches encourage active participations, critical thinking, problem solving, and collaborative learning. So students are viewed as an active participant in their own educations rather than empty vessels to be filled in with knowledge. So other than that, implementing student-centered approaches require a shift in teaching methods, curriculum design, and assessment practices. It involves creating opportunities for students to explore and construct their own knowledge, encouraging them to ask the questions, analyzing information, and think critically. So this approach fosters creativity, independence, and a deeper understanding of the subject matter. And also for we can see the curriculum developers play a crucial role in shaping the educational experience of the students. They can design curricula that that incorporate student-centered approaches, which is providing a balance between content knowledge and the development of skills and competencies necessary for success. While for the teachers and lecturers also are instrumental in implementing these approaches in the classroom, which is they can create a supportive and inclusive learning environment that encourage active participations and students' engagement, which is by adopting teaching strategies such as cooperative learning, project-based learning, and flipped classroom. Educators can facilitate meaningful learning experience that go beyond memorizations. So in summary, moving away from the banking concept of education and towards student-centered approaches is important for promoting critical thinking, creativity, and their development of essential skills. So by empowering students to actively participate in their own education, we can create a more active and meaningful learning and experience for all. Thank you. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Madam Hayati. Okay, last but not least, finally, Madam Aisha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so Madam Aisha, so do you agree if education in Malaysia using this banking concept of education as it's really popular in education system worldwide?
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator, Miss Shafika. So today I want to share my understanding of the banking concept of education as a curriculum division officer. So as everyone know, curriculum division is first develop school curriculum. Second, spread the school curriculum. Third, monitor the implementation of the school curriculum. Fourth, provide school curriculum support materials. And last, conduct evaluation for school curriculum development. So, in my point of view, banking concept of education can be used in Malaysia, but depends on situation. Back to role of curriculum division at my point third number. Monitor the implementation of the school curriculum. So as these days, children are really exposed to new things from the internet and surroundings. In this case, students and teachers should not use the banking concept among their relationship. Basically, students like this intend to have more information as they easily to gain knowledge widely. The teachers need to avoid the way they're thinking that the students is assumed to have no knowledge or opinion regarding the education. In the end of the day, this concept can cause students only act as passive listener in the classroom, and they are taught in a one way as teachers' way of thinking. And so students are taught to follow the rather things as in the individuals. This is a task as a curriculum division to monitor the implementation of the school curriculum by monitoring and reduce this kind of attitude among teachers. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Miss Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Madam Aisha. So, last question for you, Madam Aisha. So, do you think that teachers need to provide all school materials before the class started? What is your opinion?
Okay, back to point number 4, which is role of curriculum division, where I need to provide school curriculum support materials to each school. So I think it is necessary to all teachers to provide the learning materials before the class started. As for example, especially for primary school and kindergarten, the students in this phase couldn't learn anything first if his teacher doesn't teach them. This shows that this shows how the idea of banking concept works. So I provide one case. A class primary in literature. The teachers only provide the book. The teacher only provided the book to read and understand. However, there's no language, no symbolism stated in the book, which the student need to figure out how to read the books without an explanation from the teacher. The children have taught to think like the teacher does, and at the end of the day, students need to force themselves to learn. This could enhance them to think in a critical way. As for me, banking concept can be used in a different way. Its effects, either good nor bad, depends on how the education system wants to practice. So that's all from me. I'll pass back to the moderator. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Madam Aisha. Yes, we do agree that banking concept is really important to our education system to make sure our children is having a good education. So thank you to our panels for your opinions and your time for today. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask to our panels, you can drop the questions in the chat box. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you again for your time here.